Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 60 of Screwball here, and another kind of slow news week. It was kind of hard to find some really hot topics for us to talk about, but we do have a topic of conversation. We have some general game updates. We got some cool milestones that came up last week in the game, and some exciting news with minor league baseball. So let's just get right on into it with our news. But before we get into our topic of conversation, the first piece of news that we're going to talk about is the most recent altercations on the field between the Phillies and the Mets and the Reds game. On Friday night, April 30th, the Phillies and the Mets engaged in a benches clearing altercation. The issue was sparked by Jose Alvarado striking out Dominic Smith, followed by taunting Smith and yelling. Dominic Smith did not take too well to this and engaged Alvarado in an argument. Benches cleared and resulted in Alvarado being suspended for 3 games, as well as Dominic Smith and Miguel Castro being issued undisclosed fines. Miguel Castro threw at Rhys Hoskins later in the game. This also relates to Amir Garrett's issue against the Cubs, yelling at Anthony Rizzo and Javier Baez getting involved, and those benches clearing as well. So a lot of tensions being run high for some of these teams. I wanted to more particularly talk about the Jose Alvarado incident because there is an actual penalty handed down. 3 games is not the worst, penalty you're going to take, obviously. Was it justified? 3 games for a reliever? I guess so. This kind of goes back to a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in the past with the batters like to pimp their home runs and talk all the crap at the plate. And then while I think that some of the pitchers go too far, and some players take it too far, this is kind of almost like the war of escalation. I think I've even mentioned on the show of everyone trying to one-up each other and be more crazy and talk more trash. I don't think Jose Alvarado was necessarily right for doing this stuff. I don't usually like that, the taunting and the big game showmanship and stuff like that. So I can't really necessarily agree with Jose Alvarado here, but, it's an interesting situation. And like I said with Amir Garrett, Amir Garrett already has a reputation. We already seen him go nuts on a few teams. So that's not super surprising, especially against a division rival in the Cubs. So I don't know, what's kind of your take on all this stuff, and what do you think of the 3-game suspension and the fines to Miguel Castro and Dominic Smith?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the suspension's fine just because a reliever at 3 games, you're probably going to get used at least one of those 3 games. So you're going to miss at least one of your outings. For a position player, he's playing every day, 5 out of 6 days. So 3-game suspension's not too bad. He also, he did, cause a ruckus out there, yelling and screaming
Sure
and
did.
hollering. But, this goes back to, previous games and previous at-bats. The players don't forget them. So,
Sure.
if you're going to say something to a player, he's gonna remember it. So, he just happened to get emotional there in the middle of a game and in a big spot, and he just spoke his mind there, I guess. Amir Garrett, same way. He remembers that, and especially that when Baez came out and was real upset. But Baez is a guy who, no look tags and flashy, and even in the field, bat flips and all this other crazy stuff he does. But a pitcher strikes your guys out and kind of gives it back to you, and it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point it's got to be either stopped or agreed upon that if you're going to do it, I could do it. Now I don't know what was said and what goes on, but that might be a little over the top what those 2 guys did. But to be able to kind of give it back to them, there's got to be something you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm not a big fan of all the flash and stuff like that. But if you're gonna do it to him, then he could do it back to you. So I think Amir Garrett with the Baez, I think Garrett had a point there. Alvarado, I don't know too much about Dominic Smith or Pete Alonso or any of those guys, flipping the bat and going nuts. But Amir Garrett and I think Baez, I think Amir Garrett was was onto something there essentially. He had something to stand on. But that kind of leads into kind of what we want to talk about today, and that really it goes back to the Phillies and Cardinals. The Cardinals pitcher, a young guy, Cabrera, I believe his name was. threw it up and didn't pitch, and unfortunately hit Bryce Harper in the face.
Yeah.
Which was, I don't know how he didn't do anything, didn't do any damage, but Bryce Harper's fine, he played. But there was warnings issued to both teams.
Well, real quick before, I don't want to interrupt you, but was it after then Didi got hit the warnings were issued, or was it after Harper got hit?
Not too sure when the warnings went out.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been after Didi.
I think it was after Didi, yeah.
But either way, they hit Harper, which was not intentional.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was very, emotional and stuff like that. Next batter comes in, he hits Didi. And then warnings get sent out. Well, obviously it was not intentional to hit these guys. So, did warnings need to come out? Probably not. But why warn both teams? And that's the big topic here is why did both teams get warned in situations like that? Now, if you're the Phillies and the Mets, after Alvarado did his thing, the next day someone gets hit, maybe both teams get a warning at that point, because there's obviously a very recent history and tension of a fight breaking out. Obviously, that makes more sense. But out of nowhere, why did both teams get warnings at times like that? It doesn't make too much sense, because there's times where out of nowhere you hit somebody and they'll give a warning to both teams. And you'll see a manager come out and argue that. Mm-hmm. The reason is not because they want to go out and hit somebody. The reason is that affects the way the pitcher pitches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now a guy, maybe a little bit of control issues, can't go inside with a fastball. Or can't go inside, or won't go inside as much because he doesn't want to hit somebody. If he hits him, he's getting thrown out. So it's like, does that affect the way the pitcher thinks, the way the pitcher goes about his business, the way that the game's called? That's the problem. And then obviously the game kind of, no matter what you say, the game kind of controls itself in that aspect. You hit one of my guys, I'm going to, at some point, I'll hit one of your guys in the back. Just tick for tack, nothing crazy. The game always policed itself like that, no matter how you did it. So you start throwing warnings, and then they don't get ones. And then, maybe next series they'll peg a guy, and it's a back and forth all year long. It's like, well, you hit me last time. Well, I'll hit you this time. Well, I can't hit you now. I'll have to hit you next time. Instead of just, essentially, it's a crazy idea, but just the way the game always works. Instead of just letting, okay, guy get hit in the back, up, later in the game, guy get hit in the back, okay, now we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just done. Instead of being like, well, it keeps carrying back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. It just keeps going and going. But the big thing is, why do both teams get warning? And that's what the topic is. And is it right for both teams to get warnings? And I said, I don't think it's right for both teams to get warnings, especially if it's just out of the blue, or if it's known to be not intentional. Bryce Harper, that wasn't intentional. Hit the guy in the face.
No.
You see the reaction. Why warn at that point? He hit Didi. Wasn't intentionally hit Didi. Why warn both teams? It doesn't make sense. Now the other team can't pitch inside. If he hits somebody, does he get thrown out? That doesn't make sense. Now if you're the Phillies, you're the Mets, you're Yankees and Red Sox, Yankees and Rays, someone gets hit. If warnings get to both teams at that time, it makes more sense. I still don't like the idea, though, of both teams getting warned for you just getting hit. It happens.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't warn both teams for hit by pitch. And you shouldn't overreact. But if there's a recent fight, a recent altercation, like the Mets-Phillies, the next day, first inning, second inning, someone gets hit, both warnings get to both teams. There was an incident just yesterday, just last week, whatever, it could be real soon. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But to be like, oh, well, remember a year ago they hit this guy, and maybe the Yankees tried pegging this guy now to get back at it. Let's warn both teams.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Or just, Twins played the Orioles today and they just hit somebody. Warnings to both teams.
Yeah.
Why? Just out of the blue. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Has to be shown intentional. Could be intentional. There's some sort of story, some sort of history. Everyone knows the history. Umpires know what goes on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, this guy hates somebody. Like, if CeCe would have hit Jackie Bradley, everybody knows he didn't like him. This was the way it was.
Yeah.
You obviously know how the game goes. So, should there be warnings to both teams in situations like that? No. It changes the way a pitcher thinks, the catcher calls the game. The batters feel now they can reach over the plate. They know they're not coming in. And all of a sudden, what if you accidentally hit somebody with a curveball? I've seen people get thrown out for hitting people with curveballs. He didn't try hitting them with a curveball.
No.
Now the guy just got thrown out. You messed the whole bullpen up for days because another guy has to come in just because, you wanted to make sure there was no issue when there wasn't going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Hit by pitches happen.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think that... there's certain situations, like you said. Guy gets hit late in the game, next day comes in, the other team retaliates. It's over. Warnings are issued, it's over. Forget about it. You know what I mean? You got one of our guys, we got one of your guys. It's over.
Police yourself.
Yeah, you would like for it to end there. Obviously, things carry over, though. If you're, like you said, if you're a Yankees-Rays, if you're a Dodgers-Padres, if you're a, hell, when they're both good, Dodgers-Giants, or, these rivalries, Cubs and Reds, stuff like that. Things happen and pitchers lose control. Now, I think that the Harper getting hit and Didi getting hit's a little unique or a little more unique, I'd say, because the guy hit Harper in the face, which is never good, no matter what situation or what. And then hit Didi right in the ribs. Got him pretty good. Then you got to question, now, should we throw this guy out? Because clearly those two weren't intentional, at least in my opinion. I think in most people's opinion, you don't want to hit a guy in the face or in the ribs. You're going to hit him in the back or something, ideally. So then, okay, well, now do we throw him out because now he's dangerous? Is he that out of control that he could be starting to hurt people, which he already, miraculously, Harper really wasn't too badly hurt. It wasn't like Giancarlo Stanton all those years ago. So then there's that unique situation, but no, in that situation right there, they should not be issued a warning, the Phillies. There's no reason that, and the guy, like I said, it's unintentional. The guy wasn't trying to hurt anybody,
And the craziest thing about that, baseball did that. The MLB got Didi hit by a pitch there. Reason why? That pitcher gets pulled after Harper gets hit in the face. He can't get pulled because of 3-batter minimum.
That's a good point.
A lot of times a pitcher throws up and in, hits a guy in the head, and the guy, he puts his hands on his head like this. They come out and pull that guy. And
Yeah.
I believe Schilt for the Cardinals said he was pulling him if he could after he hit him.
Oh, wow.
But he couldn't.
Yeah.
So now he's rattled. He's on the mound. Got a guy on first base. He's trying to overcome that. And gets crazy and boom, hits another guy. So just want to throw that out there. That was a big thing too. The Cardinals even mentioned. Schilt was like, I would have pulled him, but I couldn't.
That's a good point. I never even thought of that because I didn't know where he was at in the game. But that's an interesting little wrinkle, is that the MLB calls a rule that could have totally avoided Didi getting hit. Not that Didi was like hurt severely or anything, but you never like to see a guy hit in the ribs or anywhere in that area.
And the 3-batter minimum really hasn't done anything for the game either.
No,
hasn't sped anything up.
No, of course not.
So, but yeah, that was a little thing to throw in there. That's like part of it, but it's still certain situations warnings can get issued to both teams, but a lot of other issues it just doesn't seem to be like. Why are we jumping to the conclusions?
Yeah.
Now you're just getting other people angry. Now the manager's angry because we just got a warning in the third inning maybe.
Yeah.
For something that just happened.
Yeah.
There's no incident. It's like a bumping into the guy at first base on a play that he comes over. He didn't try doing it. You got to get to the base.
Yeah.
There's no intent there. What are we gonna put warnings? There's no. It's like what are we? We're going overboard here. Yeah,
pitchers lose control, and there's some guys in the league that are notorious for losing control, and it just is what it is. Obviously, you don't like to see guys get hit.
Yeah.
But, things happen. You can't just immediately have a quick trigger finger and want to issue warnings when one team had literally nothing to do with it.
Yes. Especially when you can't use grip on the ball as a pitcher, as we've seen. It is still April, colder, damp weather happens, and they're younger guys who throw hard. That's the league now. You throw hard. You throw hard, you're not going to have much control. It happens. We just got baseball, and the umpires got to be better at really picking and choosing when the warnings go out or who should get warned. Hey, like you're warned, you're not warned. But that doesn't give you the ability to go up. Now we can go out here and just go beam a couple guys to get back at them. No, but that doesn't mean the next guy you beam, you're out too.
Yeah,
there's got to be the ability to go, and establish that. And that could be something that maybe they have the review umpire. When something gets hit, maybe he buzzes down and be like, hey, not intentional. Or, hey, that definitely looked intentional. Let's maybe have a meeting.
And like you said, there's history with a lot of these teams. There's history, and, people find stuff from 2 or 3, 4 years ago between a pitcher and a batter or two teams. And sometimes, it's relevant. Sometimes maybe it's a little of a reach. Sometimes, who knows if these guys or these coaches even remember an incidental thing like that. But there is history between, like you said, the CC and Jackie Bradley. You knew that was coming. If he had gotten hit, you wouldn't have been surprised. You know what I mean? So there's players that notably don't like each other. There's teams that notably don't like each other. But you have to take it by a case basis. You can't just be the umpire and be like, well, someone gets hit, I got to issue warnings.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be I issue a warning to a team, or why? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't there like movability within that rule? And it's technically a judgment call.
Yeah.
So why can't there be a little, movement?
Yeah. Also, not for nothing, but the inning ends. A quick walk over near the dugout. Hey, not going to give you a warning, but to be smart.
Yeah, watch out.
A quick mention to the dugout. Nothing crazy. Doesn't have to be during commercial. Hey, yeah, it's just it's got to be. The umpire's got to understand what's going on. There's 4 of them. They can meet over it. They can have the replay review guy buzz down like, hey, maybe do something here. Hey, don't do something here. But then you got in that same Mets game, Miguel Castro came in and tried hitting Rhys Hoskins 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Threw it right behind him, and then hit him. And then Rhys Hoskins got hit, didn't even look at the pitcher. Like it was nothing happened. Hit, slow a little bit, tossed the bat over, jogged down to first. Miguel Castro walked towards the baseline, walked towards first base, wanted him to look at him, wanted him to say something to start that. That was so intentional, but nothing was done. After warnings were given, nothing was done there. So how do you give warnings and then not do something done?
Yeah.
And then they started another altercation.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to fight him. He wanted to send a message.
Yeah.
He wanted to do this. Hoskins didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Castro wanted all, wanted all the smoke.
Yeah.
And the umpire's like, nah.
I
He
know.
didn't do that on purpose.
That was about as intentional as you can get.
It's that was as intentional as Ryan Dempster trying to hit A-Rod.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone knew that was coming.
Yeah. Well, he threw 4 pitches at him.
Yeah. Said he was going to do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just you got to be able to read what's going on. And like I said, it doesn't take much for you to replay official or just a meeting with the 4 umpires. Hey, what do you think? Or replay officials buzz down. Hey,
Yeah.
Buzz down real quick, a buzzer or something, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's intentional. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's history here. That was intentional. He threw at him twice or whatever, whatever it is.
Let's do warnings here or whatever. The quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a long, let's review 6 years of baseball to find out.
Yeah.
No, but to change the way a team could pitch for the rest of a game or a pitcher can pitch for something that's incidental, definitely can't happen.
No. Mm-mm.
But in certain situations, obviously, warnings could definitely be issued. But it's something that the umpires in baseball need to clean up.
Another thing.
Yeah, but this is more about the game. It just happens. It's a judgment call. It's like pass interference in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing you can really do. It's just it's stuff they have to work on together.
Yeah.
And but hey, these are kind of more guidelines. Hey, this is what we should look for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work together on this. It happens. It's just something that the game will work on. But we just can't be too safe, I guess, or babysit these guys and go, he threw a 32-mile-per-hour curveball, hit the guy in the back. Let's throw warnings out and throw this guy out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, if he wanted to hit him, he was going to hit him.
Yeah, if he's going to hit him, he's throwing 92, he's hitting him in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? It's you know what's going on. So, maybe baseball could send a thing to these umpires. If there's any, maybe they do. Like, hey, this team has a thing. These 2 teams have a thing here. Last year they had a little thing, so
yeah, just keep an eye out. Yeah.
So it's something definitely baseball can work on. The umpires can work on, but it's definitely not going to be at the top of the list compared to replays or some of the crazy rules they want to do. But definitely something baseball can look into to help impact the game and the way people pitch and stuff.
Yeah, and like you said, the game polices itself, so hopefully it could be just as simple a change as that,
Yeah,
or you just add two more things to the judgment call. Say you could issue 1 warning, you can issue, be knowledgeable of, I don't know, they could just add like 2 little things that could add to the judgment call, because you already got the thing you want with the warnings. Just say, hey, be considerate of prior instances, be considerate of if it's one-sided, stuff like that. That's all it is. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, there's definitely things that can be done, and they'll work on them, and it's just it's a tough spot for umpires and stuff. But they need to know what's going on, and they need to be able to know that, hey, if we throw this guy out, it's really could affect this game. Or we throw or sent warnings when we didn't need to, it could really affect this game.
Yeah.
Like, sure, we're trying to get ahead of maybe a fight, but it's like now you sent a warning when there was no fight coming. Now, if another guy gets pegged, a little something gets said, all right, at that point, tensions are high. But just to hit somebody, hit him in the leg, send him down to first, so, let's send a warning real quick. It's like it doesn't have to be that way. We can get back to letting the game police itself a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. The game can police itself. We don't have to, be in control of every little aspect of every little bit of the game.
Yeah, they're big boys. They can handle it, And
that goes all the way back to anything with baseball. The game can police itself. The players can police itself. We don't have to control every little aspect of them.
Sure, yeah.
So let them be a little free, which we've seen with just stuff with their cleats and stuff. Let them be free. Let them police themselves. Let them do what they want to do a little bit. The game will run itself.
Yep.
You don't have to overrun it.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes into a lot of stuff.
That goes into a lot of what baseball has messed up or prevented of doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good topic. I don't know if anyone's ever really has recently been talking about that, but that should be at least considered on some sort of, like if baseball were to fix like even minor tweaks to stuff, that should be something that should be a little bit on the docket. But anyway, to move on back to the news, just this little second, it's not even really a piece of news. I just wanted to add it because I just love the story. I have this according to a report by CBS Sports. I'm not sure if it was broken by another news outlet, so forgive me if I'm misreporting from another news outlet. But this quote is from CBS Sports. So, could DeGrom have gone to the Red Sox? According to a report by CBS Sports, quote, in May of 2012, the Red Sox were working on a deal with the Mets for catcher Kelly Shoppach. Ben Sherrington asked Sandy Alderson for a soon-to-be 24-year-old right-handed pitcher in the Florida State League who had missed the 2011 season after surgery. The name? Jacob deGrom. Alderson seemed comfortable with the original idea, but checking with his minor league people caused him to tell Sherrington he had second thoughts. So finally, Boston received Pedro Bito, end quote. So I don't know how many people have even heard of this. It just caught my eye randomly while I was going through the articles to pick for the news. Could you imagine alternate history world here? If you have... I mean, who knows then what happens with Chris Sale? Then do they go and get Chris Sale? Do then they have Chris Sale and Jacob deGrom? Is Jacob deGrom even better? Does he have more run support? Does he not? Like, there's so much to consider. For Kelly Shoppach, I love it.
The Mets don't get to the World Series.
Yep.
If the Mets don't get to the World Series, Matt Harvey doesn't pitch extra innings.
Oh.
Maybe Matt Harvey's still there. And Pedro Vito's over at the Boston. Maybe he wins a game here. A draft pick gets changed. You can keep going and going and going.
I know.
So, but deGrom straight up for Kelly Shoppach sounds like a pretty good deal.
That's right up there with one of the worst could have been,
Yeah.
And the fact that GM was comfortable with it until like some scouts or
that
or
GM
people...
is still there.
Yeah.
The GM came back.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, hey, yeah, he was the guy I was going to trade for Kelly Shoppach.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's like, a good thing we didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like the Mo trade, and it would have been Mets trading Nolan Ryan again kind of idea. It's like, here we go, we messed that one up, right?
Or even though it's not like a one-sided trade, but the famous DiMaggio Ted Williams, written on a napkin trade that could have happened.
Babe Ruth trade, none of that. That doesn't. You lose that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely something interesting you could you pull up there because alternate history in all sports, but especially baseball. I mean, heck, you can go anywhere. Like I said, Pedro Vito helping win this one extra game. All of a sudden, draft pick changes, and all of a sudden, Tatis gets drafted instead of getting drafted by the White Sox and traded to the Padres. He's drafted by the Pirates, and then they would definitely trade him for nothing to someone else. So it would just change the whole way.
Yeah.
So alternate history is definitely something that you can really look into and really just go nuts with.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. I just couldn't even believe I was reading it. I just had to throw it in there. I couldn't just leave it on the page.
Yeah.
But going back to more real news, we have minor league opening day coming. Tomorrow, Tuesday, May 4th, the minor league baseball season officially gets underway after a long 588-day absence. By Wednesday, almost all 120 affiliated teams in the minors will have played their first game, and we welcome back all minor league baseball and, up and down, AAA, AA, low A, high A. Although I think you mentioned it to me that they're kind of almost integrating a lot of low and high A or something like that.
They got rid of some teams, and that was part of MLB's strategy. Even before COVID, it was kind of part of their strategy to cut down. But then COVID came out, they were like, this is our perfect chance to cut down. And you cut down less players, easier to raise the pay for the players and stuff like that. But, minor league opening day, again, one of the more anticipated opening days they're ever going to have. And I know our local team here, the Jersey Shore Blue Claws, I believe they went to high A from low A this year.
Yep.
I believe they were sold out 2-3 weeks ago already. Sold out for what they could do. People want to go see baseball at a more it's a professional level. They want to go see baseball for cheaper prices closer to home.
Sure.
Instead of making a trip out of it. So minor league baseball is awesome for these people, and a lot of people they get a family like atmosphere at these stadiums. Like they kind of know the players. Some of the guys sit by the dugout and they kind of know the guys. And they talk to them and stuff like that. So it's definitely a way to spread the game. So it's definitely going to help the game. So it's great for minor league baseball to be back and these franchises just to see what they have in the minors. Some of these guys haven't played over a year.
I know. Yeah. It sucks for some of those younger guys that are trying to get their at-bats in or their innings. And, it's good to finally have them back. Finally have, like you said, the local scene. Like around here we have Trenton Thunder. We have the Jersey Shore Blue Claws. We have, two, high A now and double A we could go see, and that goes for a lot of, especially on the East Coast and West Coast, it goes for a lot of people that can go and watch their local, affiliate. It's cool.
Yeah, and it brings money for the cities and the towns and the state and everything else that goes into a deeper, idea of things.
When they need it a lot now,
Yeah.
with the economy, yeah.
Sure. So it gives another people an avenue to enjoy the weather and the time that we didn't get to do last year. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yes, that's a great one. A couple of pieces of news here. I got Dodgers had 2 grand slams in the first 2 innings yesterday, which we don't really see much. That was pretty exciting. Votto hit his 300th career home run. I believe he became the second Canadian-born player to hit 300 home runs. I believe he's the second most. He has the second most home runs for a Canadian-born player.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Behind who? Do you know?
Is it? I saw this not too long ago too. Who is it?
I believe Larry Walker has the most. I think he has like 386. I believe.
I knew that.
Hall of Fame, Larry Walker.
Yeah, good for him.
And another milestone, Corey Kluber reached 100 wins yesterday. He seems to be velocity up a little bit. He seems to be pitching, not quite Cy Young, but seems to be pitching back to what he could, his potential could be at this point in his career.
Sure.
So that's some big milestones there. 300 home runs especially, and 100 wins is nice. Doesn't compare to the 300 we used to see, but 100 now is I feel like is almost like reaching 200 back in the day, maybe.
Yeah, almost. I mean, because
at least 150 back in the day.
I was gonna say because 300 anymore is just about. I wouldn't say unattainable, but it's.
Yeah, 250 I don't think is even reachable.
I know.
I think 200, maybe 225 is maybe the most you'll see, other than a couple carryover guys, Kershaw and Scherzer, and a couple guys like that maybe could carry over to the 250s, maybe 225. Other than that, you're really going to see 200 as kind of the benchmark. Maybe 220 is the benchmark.
Right,
So 100's a big deal, especially with a guy who has a couple Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
He gets up to 150, 170 wins. He's got a Hall of Fame shot.
Sure. Yeah, good for them. Good for him. Good for Votto. And, the Dodgers won. That's always nuts. The 2 grand slams. It doesn't quite compare to Tatis with the 2 grand slams in 1 inning.
Against the same pitcher.
Against
Chano Park.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know if that's one of those things that just right time, right place for him. So I don't know if that'll ever happen again. But still, 2 grand slams, 2 innings, that's pretty damn good. And then, like I said, congrats to Joey Votto, a great career. He's not done yet, but, he's had a hell of a career so far. And Corey Kluber, even if you're not talking about Hall of Fame consideration, just to get 100 wins in the big leagues is awesome. That's good for anyone, if you're pitching at that level. So, good for them. And hopefully get more years here where they can hit and pitch, as well as they can. So, our last piece of news here, our usual roundup, who's doing the best right now. For the first time on this show in I don't know how long, the team with the best record in the league is not the Dodgers. It is the Giants and the Brewers, which is just I don't know. I really don't know. The Giants and the Brewers currently hold the best record in the league at 17-11. Meanwhile, in the AL, the Red Sox and A's are tied for the best record in that league at 17-12, which they also share with the Dodgers as the overall second best record in the MLB. So 17-11 best record, Giants and Brewers. 17-12 Red Sox, A's, and Dodgers second best record in the MLB. Dodgers still own the best run differential at plus 45, and the Tigers still own the worst at negative 62. Just a quick, you mentioned it too, and I saw it myself while I was going through the run differentials. The whole NL East has a negative run differential, except the Marlins, who I believe have like a plus 5 run differential.
And they're last.
Which is just unbelievable. So, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the league right now. Hard to make sense of a lot of stuff, especially league leaders, standings leaders. Like I said, the Giants and the Brewers, we both kind of knocked both teams. Overall, I still think that our predictions are going to be pretty sound.
Yeah, the Brewers make a little bit more sense.
Well,
Giants are not a great team. That's just...
Yeah, the Giants are playing well. Brewers are playing well. Not for nothing, even the Red Sox, I don't really have all that much faith in as far as from a pitching standpoint, can withstand the long haul. So we'll see what happens. But, regardless, good for those teams. Have a little bit of exciting baseball.
Yeah, it's always good to see other teams playing good, or teams who weren't projected to be division leaders, coming out and playing hot. So to go into some of the hot teams I have to mention here, I got the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Royals, the White Sox, the Nationals, and the Cardinals. Those teams are all, I believe most of them are 7-3 in their last 10. A couple of them are, I think, even 8-2.
Yeah, probably.
In the last 10.
Yeah.
So those teams are really playing good baseball over the last 10 games. And some of the cold teams here, the Tigers, unbelievably cold. Yankees came in and swept them, but they're offensively just not hitting the ball at all. So they're one of the they are the worst team in baseball right now, and a little surprising because they have a little bit of talent there, but still. Another cold team, the Marlins, the Cubs, not playing well at all. We'll go into the Cubs a little bit when we get into some of the players. Dodgers, actually, I think they lost 7 of their last 10. They have a lot of injuries to deal with, but still. And then the Twins, another cold team. So some of them teams are definitely big name teams, especially the Dodgers and Twins. The Cubs kind of, but all struggling right now.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at the Twins overall. I didn't pick them to win division or anything. I know a lot of people I think did, but I mean, they're right there with almost the Tigers in that Central Division. Like, not quite the Tigers. They're pretty rough right now, but I'm a little surprised at them. If anyone in particular, I'm a little surprised at, because you see the Yankees start to turn around a little bit. The Braves aren't playing great, but they're kind of hovering. Like there's teams that make sense that they're at least hovering. They're right there, but I'm surprised. I'm sure they'll kick it into high gear. We always talk about kind of a law of averages thing. Like these teams are just too talented, or some of these teams. Not that they're not talented. There's less of a depth of talent.
The Twins just offensively haven't been hitting like they're supposed to, and their pitching has been okay. The bullpen, Alex Colomé has struggled since he's got there this year. He'll turn it around. But their offense, which is what they're kind of key on, has been struggling. But hopefully they can get a turn around here and make a push to get back up into the Central here pretty quickly and give us the kind of the race that we wanted and expected.
Yeah, as opposed to the Royals, which is just surprising. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was a little surprised by the roster too, but I mean, does it last? Probably not. But anyway, so let's move on to our who's hot and who's not topic here, where we talk about our hot and cold players for the week. So my hot players for the week, number 1, no particular order like usual. Last week, Austin Riley. Batted .542 with a .750 slugging, a 1320 OPS for the week. Red hot. Still defensive woes, I'm pretty sure. That's still, I don't think he's overcome that, but he's at least hitting hot. Number 2, Giancarlo Stanton has been just on fire. .522 average, .696 slugging, 1217 OPS.
And he's smoking the ball.
But that's what I was going to say. When he gets hot, he's fun to watch. Because
exit velocity is through the roof.
I think he has more batted balls over a certain mile per hour than I think he's doubled the next closest team.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's like some ridiculous statistic. He
had like 3 of like 108 plus in one game.
Yeah, he's a ridiculous human being. But yeah, he's hitting good. Number 3 I have here is Jared Walsh, batting .500 over the last week with an .889 slugging, 1413 OPS. Someone that I thought about picking up in fantasy that Frank did, and I regret it. So, yeah, he's hitting very well. That Angels lineup kind of as advertised, and now they got Rendon back, so which you'll talk about in a little bit. So, a lot to like there out of that middle of that order. Number 4, I got Byron Buxton, who won Player of the Month, I'm pretty sure, in the AL. Batted .476 over last week with a .905 slugging, a .1405 OPS. Has been really starting to come around if he can, stave off the injuries. Has really kind of almost... I wouldn't say quite as advertised with this high of hitting, but I mean, he's starting to finally maybe find that stroke that a lot of scouts thought he would. And number 5, I got Tyler O'Neill, .440 average over the last week, .720 slugging, 1160 OPS. Another guy just really tearing the cover off the ball and really helping that Cardinals lineup out a lot. When you have you already have Goldschmidt and Arenado and DeJong and these guys that are really good, and you add him to it, that definitely helps.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill's a big talent there, speed, power. Started the year a little slow, but he's really getting going now. He's red hot right now.
Sure.
So, a few other guys I want to mention here who have been pretty good over the last 7 days. Andrew Benintendi, he was hitting very well, up over 400. And Dale Peralta, a guy who I had on my fantasy team a few times, and a guy no one really gives his credit for, but really, really good hitter, and a better fielder than people think. But he's another one who's been playing very well offensively.
Sure.
A few pitchers to take a look at who have been pitching really good recently. Pablo Lopez for the Marlins, Lance McCullers, Carlos Martinez after a slow start, 2 great outings.
Yeah.
Looks close to what he used to be. If he can come back and start doing that to add to the Cardinals, another reason why the Cardinals are getting hot here. Tyler O'Neill hitting, Carlos Martinez pitching. All of a sudden, they're good.
Yeah, makes sense.
A couple other guys, Dylan Cease for the White Sox been pitching good, and Ian Kennedy out of the bullpen, a couple saves last week.
Yeah.
So there's a few pitchers there who really been pitching well over the last 7 to 10 days.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of exciting guys coming on here, finally. Like I said, like Stanton, Jared Walsh, I think is an exciting player. Byron Buxton, like I said, a lot of people have been waiting on that for quite a long time here at this point with his career. So it's good to see these guys playing, really getting hot and making their averages more what they should be. Now we'll go to the cold players. No particular order. My number one guy is Francisco Lindor with a .050 average, with a .050 slugging, and a .224 OPS over the last week. Just really not hitting good, and I know a lot of Mets fans are getting frustrated with him. I would say it's a bit early to start getting all wound up about this guy. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to be just fine for that contract. I understand the frustration though. Number 2 here, Max Muncie, over the last week batting .059 with a .059 slugging and a .332 OPS. A guy that has been pretty cold for the first month here, and I'm pretty sure all last year he was not great. So a little bit of a you raise your eyebrow at at Max Muncie here. You got to start getting going at some point here. Number 3, I got Jose Altuve, .083 average over the last week, a .125 slugging, and a .236 OPS over the last week. Another guy that I wouldn't say has fallen from grace, but another guy you kind of raise your eyebrow at. He's definitely, I haven't looked at his stats, but I'm assuming he's having a better year than he did last year, because he looked, last year he looked different, if that makes any sense. While his stats were obviously not great, there was a different look about him. There's a different demeanor, a different play. So this is a guy I really like. I know a lot of people turn their ire with the whole Astros situation to Jose Altuve, but I really like the guy, and I really do wish that he would come back around here to the ridiculous hitter he is. Number 4 here, Jose Abreu with a .105 average over the last week, a .105 slugging, and a .366 OPS. If I'm not mistaken, Jose Abreu is having a rough go of it in this first month. Maybe a little bit a tribute, to the White Sox slow start. Even though they're starting to get going here, they did have a little bit of a slow start. So kind of makes sense. And then finally, number 5, Miguel Cabrera, .095 average, .238 slugging, and a .333 OPS over the last week. Again, like you said, Tigers are ice cold. Not that they have a lot of pieces in their lineup anyway, but obviously if you have one guy that would be hitting, you'd like it to be Miguel Cabrera. But he can't do it all, so I guess, you have your weeks in the season. So it is what it is.
Yeah. A few guys I got to mention to add on to what you had here. Ty France, just started the year pretty hot, but he's pretty cold over the last 7 days. I think he's like under. I don't know if he had a hit last week, or if he had one hit.
Yeah.
Miguel Rojas, another one started the year very good. Cold the last week or so. Daniel Vogelbach, another one who I think only had one hit over his last 18 at bats or so.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few guys there just to throw in and add into yours. And a few of the cold pitchers to take a look at. And if you want to go look over their last 7 to 10 days, not pitching good. Jake Arrieta, Alec Bettinger. He has like a 48 ERA. He pitched like one inning or got a couple outs and gave like 6, 7, 8 earned. Trevor Williams, Kyle Hendricks. Just so you guys know, that's 3 of the 4 players I listed were Cubs pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of explains what's going on there. And Steven Matz, he had a bad start his last one. Got beat up there. So yeah, there's some names there, some bigger names, especially Kyle Hendricks, Arrieta, and Steven Matz, who you don't really expect to see on the cold list to get really beat up. And yes, you'll have their decent, off starts and stuff like that. But to really get beat up and be on the cold list, you don't really expect it too much.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, see some of these guys in the cold list. I mean, everyone, even just in the hitting category, everyone I listed off here are all-stars, are well-known people. Lindor, Muncie, Altuve, Jose Abreu, Miguel Cabrera. I mean, these are big boys. They know how to hit. They can do it. So we'll see what happens. Still the first month. Still a little chilly out. Once you start getting into the little bit warmer weather, ball starts flying a little more, even though they did mess with the ball over the offseason. Things start to happen. So before we get into our trivia question, I made a little segment here for myself just to shout out. I didn't really want to get into statistics or anything, but I just wanted to shout out. We did close out the month here for April. Just wanted to give some shout out to some players that I thought really played well. Had some unbelievable some players had some really unbelievable statistics, like DeGrom and Mike Trout and stuff like that. So I just wanted to throw some names out here. So if you hear any names, if you don't hear any names you want to mention, Frank, just shout them out at the end. So I got Mike Trout, Byron Buxton, J.D. Martinez, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Nick Castellanos, Chris Bryant, Nelson Cruz, Jacob deGrom, Danny Duffy, Garrett Cole, Corbin Burns, Tyler Glasnow, John Means, Brandon Woodruff, Alex Reyes, Aroldis Chapman, Craig Kimbrell, Tyler Rogers, and Yasmero Petit. There's obviously more that I could have named. I could have went down a whole list. I thought that was a pretty extensive list already. But some of these guys, I mean, Mike Trout is just as good as you'd want out of Mike Trout. You know, he's already I'd say one of our favorite players and one of the best players I've ever seen. So he keeps going. Byron Buxton, doing his thing. DeGrom putting up video game numbers. J.D. Martinez putting up video game numbers almost. Vlad Guerrero Jr. being what they projected in that 80 scouting report on his hitting. That's finally starting to come around almost. Ronald Acuna Jr. being one of the most exciting players in baseball, if not the most exciting. So you got a lot of guys here to like, and I just wanted to give a shout out. These guys are really the best. I'd say the best of the best in the month of April.
Sure. You got guys Harper and Real Muto and Carlos Rodon, Matt Olson. There's a bunch of guys who you can keep going and going who had really good first months here. But yeah, that's a big list there, and some of those guys really did have unbelievable achievements. Joe Musgrove with the no-hitter, and so it's pretty cool to see. But real quick before we get to the trivia question here, I got some injury updates to mention. We got Darren O'Day put on the IL, rotator cuff. Miguel Sano on the IL. Luis Robert unfortunately, is going to be out. Baseball activity shut down for 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So we're probably not going to see him for 5 months back with the White Sox, which is a
Sucks.
shame. Jesus Luzardo, who hurt his pinky right before start playing a video game. He banged his hand on the desk or the thing. I don't know if he got upset or if he just did it on accident, and then got beat up pretty good in that start. Marcus Gonzalez, IL. James Paxton did get Tommy John. Charis Darno, torn ligament in his thumb. He's on a 60-day DL, so that's a big thing for the Braves.
Yeah.
Jazz Chisholm, who is a high prospect and playing pretty good for the Marlins. He's on the IL.
Yep.
Omar Narvaez, unfortunately, went on the IL with a hamstring. The Brewers getting beat up here with injuries. Dustin May on the IL, announced not long ago. He's getting Tommy John. Yastrzemski, IL for the Giants. George Springer is back, though. Rendon is back. Olsen missed a few games with a he took a ball to the eye in batting practice. He's back. Juan Soto's almost back. Luke Voigt is almost back. Christian Yelich returned. Harper getting hit in the face. He returned 2 days after that. So we had a bunch of guys here actually coming back too, which is good. Syndergaard, on the right trail here. Chris Sale's kind of working his way back. So we got guys here on the who just came back or on the right trail to coming back here. So that's always good too. But big injury week and some pretty good names here that got hurt. And there's obviously some more that you could always mention, but these are some of the bigger names or bigger impact guys I thought to mention.
Yeah. The Luis Robert, however you say his name, that one hurt White Sox fans. We both like him a lot. We think he's super talented, and like regardless of the player to be out that long, especially now we're past a month, and now he's probably going to be out. We're not going to see him for 5 months. That's just about the whole season you're out. So,
and they're already missing Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah. So a team that we thought was just about one of the best in the league, going down like that.
He's getting beat up here.
Yeah. And
Well tested.
Yeah, it sucks to see. Obviously any injuries, like I always say. But, that's a team that's got uber talent and depth. So they'll be okay in the long run, I think, but that definitely doesn't help.
Yeah. Anyway, to get to our last little bit here, it's a trivia question. So to wrap the whole episode up or circle around here, we started with the warnings and hit by pitches. So I wanted to stay on that topic. And which player has the most hit by pitches of a batter? So by a batter, who got hit the most? And that'll be history. If you can't, give me the name and number.
That'd be fun. I don't know who would get that.
So who got hit the most? And it'll be history. Huey Jennings. He got hit 287 times. He started his career in 1891, and if you really want to go into his career, he played this year and for one game, and then that's crazy, but he really ended his full-time career playing in, I believe, 1903. Hall of Fame player, 311, 312, career hitter. But yeah, holds the record for 287 times being hit by a pitch. Second place is Craig Biggio, 285. Other guys you might see towards the top of that list, Dusty Baker, Don Baylor, a bunch of guys like that you can see at the top of that list. But yeah, Huey Jennings, 287, has the most hit by pitches of a batter, and that will be history.
Yeah, I never would have got that. I don't know how many people really would get that without just guessing. You know, we usually put it up on Twitter as a multiple choice. You got to be a pretty big baseball historian to know that. You know, especially those older guys, they start to really stats start to get wacky. So you got guys like Huey over here. You know your stuff. Craig Biggio, that's definitely a name that you could guess. That's definitely a recent baseball mind. If you have seen that stat before, if you are, you were an Astros fan, whatever. That's one that I could see people guessing. Or like you said, Don Baylor, Dusty Baker. That makes sense.
Yeah. So.
But.
And for Huey, Hall of Fame Huey, no helmet, no elbow guard, no shin guard, no extra padding, probably no batting gloves, no anything. So he was just getting beamed and beamed and beamed.
Just wearing it.
And just going down to first base. You know he didn't miss games back in the day. He played every day, 15 times a day. 311 hitter, Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. So he earned them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get hit by a pitch, you earn it. Mm-hmm. Elbow guard, shin guard, and brushes the jersey, and helmet, face guard, and protective helmet, and just everything's more protective. Better cleats and batting gloves with a little bit of protection. Everything's more protective now, which is good.
Yeah.
Not in Huey's day.
No.
Huey's up there holding a big piece of wood that he just got, he's going to light on fire later because it's just all jagged. No helmet, so he's getting beams right in the head. Mm-hmm. Even his jersey's all messed up and probably holes in it because he used it every single day for 70 years. He earned every little bit he got hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure he took a couple to the head and some other places and just went right down to first. Never missed a game or left a game and just went on his way.
Probably. And he's not too far removed from those original rules where if you got hit by a pitch, it was just a ball.
Yeah.
So imagine, I think if he came in the league in 1891, I think the rule was already past that. I think they already established that you take your base. But, imagine if he played a little sooner than that, him getting hit by pitches and wearing 4 hit by pitches and taking your base.
Like even 7.
Yeah.
You want to go even farther?
That's true.
7 balls to
That's
take
true.
your base and 4 strikes.
Yeah.
Stand up there and get hit 7 times just to go walk down. Now that's when you should start issuing some warnings.
Yeah.
Hit this guy 7 times in the back just to send him down to first base. Jesus Christ. No helmet or nothing, Just beaming him. Bang, 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 bang. Just let me go.
Yeah.
I'll walk right down here. I just walk this guy instead of beaming him 17 times,
Yeah. He's got brain damage already at 1 at bat.
Yeah. Imagine 4 bats a game. You pay 28 times just to walk him 4 times. Yeah. 28 times just to walk down there.
Yeah. That's sending a message.
Line the pitching machine. Boom, 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 boom. Just sit him on the wall, Just let him go. But, Huey Jennings, 287 most hit by pitches, and he earned every one of those 287,
oh, yeah.
I bet.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So
good for you, whoever got that right. If anyone listening got that right, good for you.
And I bet you he didn't rob him.
No.
That's probably where they're like, don't rob it, Huey.
Yeah,
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
So you got to be. Huey just ran right down there. Ray ran to third a couple times because he doesn't know where he's at. He's
It's all squirrely.
Yeah, but somehow I found a way to 300, that 311, and make his way to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, nice little career for Huey.
Yeah, good old Huey. So.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely one that, like I said, unless you're a big baseball historian or if you're big into that old baseball, I don't know how you'd get that, but like I said, good one anyway. But that's kind of all I got for this episode. I think we covered a lot of good stuff. Unless you have anything else that you want to end with or anything you want to bring up before we go.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think the only small things you can look at, the NFL draft was over, so as part of that, extra news, sports, playoffs coming around for other sports as well. You got Cinco de Mayo coming up. Star Wars fans got the May 4th.
Yep.
And one of our buddies' birthday was just the other day, April 29th. Our buddy Joe. So happy birthday to him. Other than that, though, not too much kind of on the outskirts of baseball or any other sports that you can even mention here that we usually kind of throw together just to get out there. So
yeah, if that's it, then let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can also listen to this podcast on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E and Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.